Hey ladies, welcome back to Magnetic Love, the place where we talk about love, confidence, and how to create unforgettable moments in dating and relationships that leave the right man thinking about you long after you've walked away. Whether you're brand new here or you've been with me since the beginning, I'm so glad you're here today. Because what we're talking about might seem small on the surface. It's just a hug, right? Just two people wrapping their arms around each other for a few seconds and moving on. But what if I told you that how you respond to that hug could change everything? We've all been there. You're with someone you're attracted to. Maybe it's a first date that went surprisingly well. Maybe it's someone you've had your eye on for a while, or maybe it's a guy you've been seeing and things are starting to heat up emotionally. You lean in, he leans in, and suddenly you're in a hug. For a moment, the world feels still, like there's a pause button on reality. You can hear your heart beating. You feel safe. You feel excited. And just for that moment, it feels like you're not just hugging, you're connecting. But here's the part most people miss. While he's feeling the embrace, he's also reading everything about the way you respond, the way your body relaxes into his, the timing, the energy, the emotion you carry through your fingertips. These are the unspoken signals that make a man stop and think, wait, who was that? And more importantly, why am I still thinking about her? You see, when most women think about attraction, they think about what to wear, what to say, how to flirt, or how to text him back. But what separates a forgettable interaction from a magnetic moment is often something far more subtle. It's the micro experience, the way you touch, the way you hold, the way you linger. Today, I want to show you how to turn an ordinary hug into a moment that stays with him emotionally, physically, psychologically. I'm going to walk you through 5 powerful ways to respond to a hug that will make him feel something deep, something real, something that he can't shake even days later. Because here's the truth, men don't remember every conversation. They don't remember every pretty face, but they do remember the way a woman made them feel. And if you can make him feel safe, seen, connected, and just a little bit addicted to your presence in that one moment, he'll never stop thinking about you. So get comfy, grab your coffee or your tea, and get ready. Because after this, you'll never hug a man the same way again. Let's get into it. Hug him like you mean it, but not like you need it. All right, ladies, let's start with the foundation. Your energy, because a hug is more than a physical gesture. It's emotional communication. It's energy exchange. And what you're saying with your hug matters just as much as how long it lasts or where your arms are placed. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever hugged someone and could feel they weren't really in it? Their arms were kind of just there, limp, hesitant, almost like they were doing it because they felt they had to, not because they wanted to. Or the opposite. Have you ever been hugged so tightly by someone that it felt overwhelming, like they were trying to hold on to you out of fear you'd disappear? Neither of those experiences feels magnetic, right? That's why this first point is so important. When you hug a man, I want you to hug him like you mean it, but not like you need it. What does that mean? It means you're fully present in the moment. You're not holding back affection. You're not stiff or robotic. But at the same time, you're not clinging to him like your emotional survival depends on him liking you back. Your hug should say, I'm here, I'm open, I'm warm, and I enjoy this, but I'm also whole on my own. Because what truly leaves a man captivated is when a woman brings emotion without attachment. Think about that. You're allowing yourself to be soft, affectionate, and feminine, all without losing your sense of self. You're not using the hug to get validation. You're not asking for anything. You're simply offering an authentic moment of connection. And that is powerful. Men are drawn to women who know how to be both open and self-possessed. When you hug him like that, with calm confidence, it speaks volumes. He won't always be able to explain why he can't stop thinking about you, but deep down, it's because your presence made him feel something rare, safe, and intrigued at the same time. Your hug should feel like an invitation, not a demand. You're inviting him into your space, into your warmth, without needing to convince him to stay. That difference between meaning it and needing it is subtle, but it's the line between ordinary and unforgettable. So next time you're in his arms, check in with yourself. Take a breath. Don't rush. Let yourself feel the moment. Let your body relax into the hug, but also hold a bit of that inner poise. That's the magic. When your body says, I'm enjoying this, but your energy says, I'm still grounded, that's when he feels the emotional contrast that makes you unforgettable. And trust me, once he feels that, we'll start looking for ways to feel it again. Let the hug linger half a second longer than expected. Let's talk about timing, because sometimes the most powerful emotional moments don't come from what we say, but from what we don't rush. When it comes to physical connection, especially with someone you're interested in, your instinct might be to mirror his every move. He leans in, you lean in. He pulls back, you pull back. It's polite, it's safe, and it keeps you in sync. But it also keeps things predictable, and predictable rarely equals memorable. So here's a small but powerful shift. Hold the hug half a second longer than expected. Not an entire extra minute, not a long awkward squeeze, just a heartbeat, a subtle pause, the kind of moment that catches him just off guard enough to feel something stir. Why does this matter? Because in a fast-paced world, we're conditioned to rush through intimacy. We give quick hugs, throw out surface-level compliments, move on to the next thing. But emotional impact doesn't live in the fast-forward. It lives in the stillness. It lives in the spaces we choose not to rush. When you let the hug linger for just a half second longer than he expects, you create emotional contrast. That contrast is what causes his brain to go, wait, what just happened? You've broken the social script. Instead of it being just another hello or goodbye, you've created a moment. And our brains are hardwired to pay attention to the unexpected. It's the same principle that makes a line of dialogue hit harder when there's a pause before it, or why a romantic scene in a movie feels electric when there's silence right before a kiss. The stillness creates tension, and tension creates emotional debt. And here's what most people don't realize. Physical timing carries emotional weight. When you hold a hug for that one extra beat, it says, without words, this matters to me. It communicates interest, warmth, comfort, confidence. It says, I'm not afraid of closeness. And that right there, that's rare. That's what makes you unforgettable. But here's the key. Don't overdo it. This is not about creating pressure. You're not clinging. You're not asking for him to reciprocate some big emotional gesture. You're simply being present for just a little longer than he's used to. And in that pause, you're giving him space to feel you, to notice your scent, your energy, the way his body responds to yours. And the beautiful part, most of the time, he won't even realize why you're still on his mind hours later. He'll just remember that something about you felt different, more grounded, more sensual, more emotionally rich. He'll keep coming back to that half second, replaying it in his mind, wondering why it left a mark. And that's exactly what we want. Not a moment that's obvious, but a moment that's undeniable. Use the power of the whisper touch. Let me share a secret with you, and that most people miss entirely when it comes to physical intimacy. The most powerful kind of touch is the one that barely happens at all. I call it the whisper touch. It's light, it's fleeting, it's not demanding attention, but it absolutely commands his senses. And when you learn to master this, you create a moment that lingers not just in his memory, but on his skin. Here's what this looks like in practice. You're in the middle of a hug with a man you're attracted to. It could be at the end of a date, or maybe even just a casual hello. As you begin to pull away from the embrace, you let your fingers graze a part of him with a softness that barely registers, but absolutely lands. Maybe the back of his neck, maybe his shoulder. Maybe your hand lingers just for a breath on his chest before dropping. The key is intentional subtlety. It's not overt. It's not flirty in a look at me kind of way. It's quiet, confident. A woman who uses the whisper touch is saying without words, I'm tuned in. I'm emotionally present. I'm aware of this moment and I'm not rushing through it. Now, let me explain why this is so powerful. We are wired to remember sensory experiences, especially those tied to emotion. Smell, sound, and touch are deeply connected to memory. That's why a certain song can take you back to a high school breakup, or a perfume can remind you of someone you haven't seen in years. But touch is one of the most underutilized emotional anchors in attraction. The whisper touch works because it's unexpected. Most people hug and then pull away. It's clean, predictable, it follows the script. But when you break that script just slightly, when your fingertips pause, trail, or barely whisper against him, it activates a completely different part of his awareness. You create what I call a skin memory. He won't even be able to explain it. But later that night, when he's lying in bed or going about his day, he'll suddenly remember the feel of your hand. Not because it was overtly sensual, but because it felt intentional, like you left a tiny emotional fingerprint on his body. And here's the best part. You don't have to do it every time. In fact, it's better if you don't. Because when you use this kind of touch sparingly and with precision, it becomes powerful. It becomes something he notices when it happens and misses when it doesn't. This is the kind of woman men feel around them long after she's gone. The woman who didn't just touch his body, but touched something deeper. His attention, his curiosity, his desire to feel more of her energy. So remember, it's not always the bold move that makes the biggest impact. Sometimes it's the softest touch that leaves the deepest imprint. Lock eyes after the hug, but don't be the first to speak this one. This is where things get electric. Because here's the truth. The most magnetic moments in human connection don't come from the words we say. They come from the space between them. And that moment right after a hug, that's one of the most emotionally charged spaces you'll ever stand in with someone. Let's paint the picture. You've just shared a meaningful hug with a man, whether it was warm, slow, playful, or heartfelt. You both felt something shift, even if only slightly. Most women, in that vulnerable moment right after, instinctively want to fill the space. Maybe with a laugh, maybe with a compliment, maybe with a flurry of words just to ease the tension. But you're going to do something different. You're going to pull back gently, let your hands fall naturally, and look him directly in the eyes. And then, this is the hard part, you're going to say absolutely nothing, just for a second or two. And I know that kind of silence can feel terrifying. It feels exposed, raw, intimate, but that is exactly why it works. Because most people are afraid of silence. They don't know how to sit in it without fidgeting, laughing nervously, or rushing to close the gap. But the woman who can hold eye contact and sit calmly in that moment, she communicates something powerful without saying a word, emotional composure. You're telling him, I'm not afraid of closeness. You're saying, I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to feel you. You're showing that you're present, self-assured, and completely in control of your emotions, even in a vulnerable moment. And let me tell you, that will shake him a little in the best way. Because most people are reactive. They rush to break tension. But the rare woman who can breathe through the tension, she creates emotional suspense, and suspense is magnetic. Now, don't mistake this for being cold or aloof. This isn't a stare down. It's not a power play. It's soft, it's open, it's you holding his gaze with a relaxed, playful confidence, maybe even with a little half smile. like you know something he doesn't. And that is the kind of moment that leaves a man wondering, what's going on in her mind right now? That question, that curiosity, that's what makes him keep thinking about you later, because he never felt fully in control of the moment. You didn't hand him all your cards. You let him feel something real, and then you let the silence speak louder than words. So the next time you're in that post-hug space, don't rush it. Don't diffuse the tension. Sit in it. Look into his eyes. Let the moment hang just long enough to feel deliciously intimate. And when he finally does speak, he'll be the one chasing that connection, not the other way around. Say his name softly as you walk away now. This final move, this is where you leave your mark, quietly, effortless, and in a way he'll feel echoing in his mind long after you've left the room. Because here's something most women underestimate. A man's name, spoken in the right moment, can carry more weight than an entire paragraph of flirty words. There's something personal about it, intimate, grounding. Hearing his name from your lips, especially when you say it softly, like it's a secret only meant for him, causes him to feel seen, not just liked, not just flirted with, seen. And when do you say it? Right after you pull away from the hug and right before you walk away. Let me walk you through it. You've just shared a warm, emotionally connected hug. You let it linger that half second longer. You maybe brushed your fingertips across his shoulder or neck. You locked eyes. You didn't rush the moment. You made him feel something. And then, just as you're about to turn, you say his name. Softly, slowly, with presence, almost like you're savoring it. Not with a tone of someone who's trying to keep him around, not as a question, not as bait, but as a gentle acknowledgement of the moment you just shared, a stamp, a signature, like saying, this was real, I felt it, and I know you did too. Here's why this works so well. Most of the time, people are in a rush to move on. We say generic things like bye or see you, and we don't take the time to make that goodbye meaningful. But when you say his name in that intimate, knowing tone, you leave a final impression, and endings shape memory. People don't always remember every part of a conversation, but they always remember how it ended. This is what creates that what just happened effect, that mental rewind he does in the car or in bed that night. He keeps playing it back. The hug, the pause, the eye contact, and then his name from you, like a ribbon wrapping the whole moment together. And remember, it's not about being dramatic, it's about being intentional. You could be walking away with a soft smile, maybe even without looking back, or maybe you glance over your shoulder. Either way, that one word, his name, turns the moment into something deeply personal, because you're not just another woman he hugged. You're the woman who made him feel like the only person in the world for just a few seconds. And that's the kind of woman men don't forget. So let's bring this all together. You see now that it's not about grand gestures. It's not about trying harder. It's not about being someone you're not. The truth is, the most unforgettable women don't try to be unforgettable. They simply know the power of being present in the smallest moments. Moments like a hug, because a hug isn't just a greeting. It's not just goodbye. It's not just routine. It's a doorway, an opportunity, a chance to speak to his heart without ever opening your mouth. When you hug him like you mean it, but not like you need it, you show strength. You radiate that grounded feminine energy that says, I enjoy this, but I don't depend on it. When you let the hug linger just a heartbeat longer, you create emotional tension, the good kind, the kind that makes him feel something without knowing why. When you use the whisper touch, your fingertips leave behind a memory he'll feel days later, no matter how subtle it seemed at the moment. When you lock eyes after the hug and let silence do the work, you introduce mystery, depth, confidence. You become the one who knows how to sit in emotional tension without flinching. And when you say his name softly as you walk away, you leave a mark, not a dramatic one, not a loud one, but one that hits his subconscious like a song lyric that suddenly plays in his head hours later, making him wonder, who is she? That's the secret. You don't have to chase anyone. You don't have to impress anyone. You just have to master how to turn a simple moment into a magnetic one. You have to become the kind of woman who feels like a rare experience, not just another interaction. Because when a man feels something from you that he doesn't feel from anyone else, that's when he can't stop thinking about you. That's when he starts replaying the way you made him feel. That's when he starts missing you, even if you're still in his life. And guess what? You didn't have to beg. You didn't have to overperform. You didn't have to chase. You just had to be present in your body. You just had to slow down. You just had to feel it with him and let him feel you fully and completely in that one embrace. So the next time you're in a man's arms, remember, you're not just giving him a hug, you're giving him an experience, one he'll never quite be able to explain and never quite be able to forget.